are having class with the 10th grade modern history class. I teach 2 sections of this class, and because of Parents' Weekend, one of the sections of this class has been canceled. And what we'd like to do is videotape this class and post it on the portal for the other class to view so that they can get the experience that we had here together online. So that's what we're doing. And it'll be sort of something that we can all look at, myself included as a teacher. This is a good tool for kind of self-evaluation. Make sure I'm doing what I'm supposed to do in class. So the first question I wanted to ask you guys is what did we really study this week? What did we learn this week? The Enlightenment? Is that the first thing? Okay, we began with the scientific revolution, right? What did the scientific revolution do?
Change the way of thinking.
It changed the way of thinking. Can you be specific?
About
Sure.
the universe.
Inigo?
About the universe.
Okay, so maybe who changed our thinking about the universe? Islam, you want to jump in on this one?
Newton,
Newton?
Copernicus, Kepler.
And who was the guy we really focused on this week? Galileo. Right, we spent a lot of time talking about Galileo. What did he propose? What ideas did he put forth that Kepler and Copernicus had sort of put out there ahead of time? Bo?
The heliocentric theory.
The heliocentric theory. So, explain, somebody. Alison?
That the Earth isn't the center of the universe, it's the sun and the Earth revolves.
And so for 1,200 years, most people had thought that the Earth was the center of the universe. What institution in Europe also held this to be true? Bo?
Cambridge University.
Well, what institution? That's something a little bigger than Cambridge University.
Is it Paris?
No, what institution? Sort of the ruling authority of Europe? Close. The Inquisition is part of it. The Catholic Church, guys. Right? One of the central tenets that the Catholic Church held to be true was that the Earth was the center of the universe. So we end up where? At the Inquisition with Galileo, right?
Yes.
And what is Galileo forced to do? What's the word that we learned? Recant. Or else what does he face? Another tough word. Excommunication. And was he a devout Catholic?
Yes.
So rather than face excommunication, he did what? He recanted. What did he say on the way out of the Inquisition?
He said the Earth is not the Earth is not the middle of the solar system.
Yeah. So he, under his breath, he sort of says, you know, I know what's true. You can suppress the truth, but I know it's true, and a lot of other people now know it's true. So that's sort of where we began the week. Okay? So we have explanations for the physical world around us, and I guess the connection would be, well, we questioned how things worked, we theorized, we proved, and we proved that an established theory had been incorrect. So the church kind of took it on the chin here, didn't it? You know what that means, taking it on the chin? You get kind of punched, knocked out. Okay? Who delivered the first blow to the Catholic Church in 1517? We talked about this guy earlier. No? No, Ptolemy was 5th century. I said 1517. No, he wasn't in the reading. We just talked about him. He's responsible for the Protestant Reformation. What's that guy's name? Martin Luther. Very good. Here you go. Martin Luther. So in a span of 130 years, the Catholic Church is attacked by one of its most devout men, Luther, for its the corruption of indulgences, and then scientists, not attacking the church, but simply trying to explain the universe, undermine the church's authority too. So I guess if the church could be wrong about the workings of the universe, what other things might they have incorrect? That's sort of what I want us to think about. What other kinds of things could be incorrect about the way people live in Europe as we're studying it? It was sort of the middle part of your reading for today. We started out in our reading, we talked about the arts for today, right guys? Art, architecture, music. We'll enjoy some music today. And then we talked about the concept of enlightened absolutism. Now, we'll get to that shortly, but I just wanted to make sure we were connecting the idea of inquiring. These monarchs that you guys read about, they did inquire, they did read, they did entertain thoughts of reform, but we know ultimately they sort of turned their backs on reform, right? Anyway, before we tackle that, what came next this week after the scientific revolution? The Enlightenment itself, okay? So that was the next sort of subject that we studied. We tackled the philosophies of the Enlightenment, Locke and his natural rights. What else was Locke known for? What did we study? Not a flipping of pages.
Life, liberty, and property.
Okay, those are his natural rights, good. It's something that's going to connect us maybe to Rousseau. It's a Latin term.
Oh, laissez-faire.
No, that's French.
Yeah.
Tabula rasa of John Locke, right? The blank slate, the blank mind. So, what forms man? Society, someone said surroundings. Good. Okay, so what were the Enlightenment philosophers trying to improve? What forms man again? Society. What were they trying to improve? Society, and government's part of that, obviously. The big changes that we're going to see are the ideas of different forms of government. Right, and when we get to sort of this place called the United States, right? Now, what did Locke believe about man? Born pure. Was man basically good? That's what Locke felt about man. And then again, with the tabula rasa, if man is born basically good and the society that he grows up in is positive, he should grow up good. Now, who sort of had the opposite view? Not someone who was in your reading, but I talked about it. Who's that? Hobbes. What did Mr. Hobbes have to say about man?
Man is evil.
Evil and
Fear God.
brutish. Remember that word?
Yeah.
Brutish. What did man need according to Hobbes?
To be scared into doing the right thing.
Scared into? Ray said doing the right thing, okay, or obeying the law. So would Hobbes believe in absolute rule?
Yes.
Probably, right? His Leviathan, the book he wrote, talked about the immense power that had to exist in government. So somewhere between Hobbes and Locke, we have to try to figure out a middle ground, and I think that's where we come to Rousseau. Before we move ahead to the impact of the Enlightenment, I want to revisit the concept of the social contract. So we're going to look again at question 6 on page 307, and I want some nice young man to volunteer to read that question out loud. Many of your homework responses were cursory on this and sort of seemed to miss what Rousseau was trying to say. So who wants to read this question out loud? Go ahead, Matthew.
What did Rousseau mean when he started that if any individual wants to pursue his own self-interests, that he will expense of the common good? He will be forced to be free. Do you agree or disagree with Rousseau's ideas? Why?
All right. He will be forced to be free. That's a pretty tough thing to understand. Doesn't sound like freedom if you're forced to be free, right? I want you to think about it this way. I think what Rousseau is saying here can be put in a more understandable way. You guys ready to write this down? In order to be free, you must give up certain freedoms. So you can't just do whatever you want, can you?
No.
So you're giving up elements of freedom. If there's somebody with 2 cell phones You know, knocking into your table at the restaurant, can you get up and punch them in the face?
No.
No, even though they're being wrong. So you're giving up that freedom, but by not being able to do that or not wanting to do that, society is safer, right guys? So we're giving up certain things so that we can be safe and free in a lawful society. I think that's a better way of thinking about it than maybe the way the question was phrased in your book. You guys get it a little better than you did when you had to deal with that question, I hope?
Yeah.
Okay? So, the question I wanted to pose to you guys is, how will men be forced to be free in Rousseau's social vision? How will men be forced to be free? Noah?
Government?
All right, if they abide by the government's rules, they know that they can't do certain things, right? But we also talked yesterday about other, social contracts that you guys sign, like maybe your Trinity-Pawling social contract. You guys have to decide to do what?
Obey the rules.
Obey the rules. Okay, so in a way, if you want to be a functioning member of whatever society it is you're involved in, whether it's Trinity-Pawling or Spain, Kazakhstan, you have to look at the rules, look at the guidelines, and choose to do what? Go along. So you're freely doing that, aren't you?
Yeah.
In a way, but don't you fear what will happen if you don't? So are you being forced to be free? A little bit, right? If you want to get by, you have to choose to take society's guide. And you are kind of, in a way, being forced. And I think Rousseau was right about that. Now, if you're not going to be forced, what's going to happen to you? Will you be free?
No.
You might end up where? In jail. And then if you get out of jail, you have the decision again. Are you going to be forced to be free? All right, so I guess we can move on to what I wanted to talk about today. Hold on to that last thought, because we're going to talk about rulers making decisions. The first, I want to take a few minutes and share some music with you. It's interesting when in history books we read, oh, Mozart wrote The Marriage of Figaro, and you're like reading that and you go, oh, that's great. I don't know what that is, and I know you guys probably didn't go to the internet last night and start listening to all these pieces, right? So I thought I'd like to play some of these for you, okay?